Awesome. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another episode of Wealth Whispers. And as you might have noticed, I've not been on Facebook with Wealth Whispers, and that is because it has moved to YouTube now. So if you've not come across me before, my name is Anwin Mbah, and I've got wonderful Blessing here with me, and I'll introduce her in a bit. But as you know, here we're all about helping business women build their income, turn their income generating business into a six-figure wealth building vehicle in 90 days so that you can scale your business, increase your income, and travel more. Basically, get more time to do the things you love. So that's what we're all about. And today I've got Blessing here with me, and she's going to introduce herself in a bit. But we're going to be talking about, getting yourself spiritually there in regards to, preparing for coming out of lockdown, preparing your business, and also preparing yourself energetically because a lot of things are happening, a lot of things is going on, and there's so much that you need to be aware of that I have found it draining. So I am here as well to learn from Blessing as to how to keep myself spiritually top, basically. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. So please, Blessing, take it off.
Oh, thank you so much, Anwin. It's so lovely being on your show. Hi, everyone. Anwin, thank you once again for having me. As you said, my name is Blessing Theophilus Israel. I'm a spiritual life coach, and I also run the Christian Millionaire Book Club that's based in London.
Amazing. Okay, so you heard it here first. So she's a spiritual coach. So now you would see why I really wanted to have her here to kind of, give us the bare minimums in regards to how to keep ourselves topped up. So Blessing, to start off with COVID, oh my goodness. COVID has been literally a whirlwind, and it is still a whirlwind because we're still in lockdown. We're coming out of furlough, and also we're starting to open up our businesses again. So shops are opening and so forth. What have you seen from your, I guess, spiritual view in regards to what has been happening to us as humans during the lockdown?
Yeah, I think COVID has really been a challenging time for everyone. Firstly, is the human cost that we've all seen. I mean, I don't know about you, but I know quite a number of people who have passed, or at least they know people who have passed. So the human cost of lives that have been lost during this time has been really traumatic. I mean, within the club I run, in the last few weeks, the number of people whose family members have passed or been in a coma because of COVID is really been challenging. So as humans, when we're going through such challenging period, of course, it's going to have an effect on us. It's going to have an effect on us, not only physically, because it can be really draining, but mentally and spiritually, because when every time, for example, you turn on the news, you hear COVID, you hear deaths. It's like bad news. We're bombarded with negative news. It's
Yeah.
had so much effect, like I said, not only physically, but mentally, spiritually, psychologically. And during this time, if we don't find ways to really top ourselves up and find out a way to sustain ourselves spiritually, literally our emotions can really take a dive for the worse. So it has been challenging, as the news media keeps telling us. It's a pandemic that we've never seen in our lifetime, at least, and it's really been unprecedented times. And so it's really important that we find ways to cope and find ways to thrive even in the midst of everything that's going on.
And that is absolutely right. So much, again, I deal from a whole wealth side of things, and so much has been lost during the pandemic. I mean, as you said, you could see on the news as well, so many people have missed out on the government support for their businesses. So there's a lot of struggle, and there's a lot of that, I guess, scarcity emotion going on now. And what I wanted to ask now then, so from a wealth perspective, there's a lot of wealth loss, and that can be dealt with in a specific way. And I talk a lot about harmonic wealth, having that balance of of wealth around you, because there's no point you having a lot of financial wealth, but then your spiritual wealth is out the window, and then your relationship wealth is out the window because none of your family wants to speak to you. You understand? So from a spiritual world perspective, then, what can we do, or what would be the best way, especially now that we're coming out of lockdown? First of all, to prepare ourselves to come out there and not be drained, because I find going out now very, very draining. So what would you say would be one thing or two, three things that we could do to start preparing ourselves to start going back out there again?
Sure. I think firstly it begins with small steps. So, like you said, many of us have been locked down for a long time. And sometimes it can be difficult expecting people who have been in the house to just go out as if nothing has happened, because something has happened. And now, I mean, in London, in fact, from today, or in the UK, you've got to wear a face mask anytime you're going to the shops, anytime you're going to the banks, all the things we used to take for granted. Now we've got to do some things, and it can be it can take time to adjust to that. So I think firstly, just taking it easy, taking it one day at a time, I think really helps. I think from a spiritual point of view, find something that you can do that can revive you. For some people, that may be reading. For me, I like reading. I like reading the Bible, something to just recharge my mind and recharge my spirit. For others, it's meditation or prayer. Personally, I like to pray. I like to feel connected to God. I think relationships really is key. So finding people, that you can talk to about how you feel. And I know that during this lockdown, there are some people who are single and they live alone. They've not had people to be interacting with on a daily basis, and that can be really difficult. So I think where possible, find a social network. There's so many networking events going on Zoom all the time. Find a network of people who you can associate with and just begin to build relationships, because during this time when you can't be exposed, especially, okay, now we're coming out of the lockdown, but especially during the time when it was a total lockdown, if you did not have good relationships, if you were not part of any association or clubs, it would have been really difficult. So I think as we're preparing to come out of the lockdown, I think we should make that a priority to develop relationships, people that we can talk to about how we feel, and don't be afraid to tell people how you feel. Where you feel lonely, where you feel sad, however you feel, it's good to express it, because it's very therapeutic. So different people find different ways of coping. Another way is getting out there into the outdoors, doing some kind of physical exercise, whether it's walking in the park, jogging, something to, really just appreciate the fresh air that's going on around. These are all different ways that we can recharge ourselves, both spiritually as well as physically.
That has been, that's been amazing. And the fantastic thing that you're sharing is that it's just the little steps, just the fact that you say, find something that recharges you. And you never really think about it in that perspective. What is it that recharges me? And sometimes, again, some things that my recharge does with kids around, you might not necessarily have access to it or have the ability to exercise that every time you can. But at least the first step you said is find what recharges you. Reading spiritual scriptures, as you said, meditating, prayer. I know some people yoga. Others is exercise. I would love for it to be exercise for me, but right now exercise is still a chore. But love the meditating, and sometimes just lying down in bed and staring at the ceiling.
Definitely. And having a good night's sleep as well really, really helps to recharge your battery. And I know
the things we take for granted. The things we take for granted, definitely a good night's sleep makes a whole lot of difference. So going from then the good night's sleep, then would you say that would be the same steps to prepare yourself for a good night's sleep? Because from my perspective, there's a lot of financial stress, and financial stress keeps people awake at night. where the next loaf of bread is going to come from, where you're going to get that next client. And that cycle literally makes people lose their hair. So, how do you overcome basically the reality of your situation and tap into the abundance of the universe?
Sure. Yeah, I think, like you said, because a lot of businesses have folded during this time. And like you said at the beginning, not everybody has been able to access government support. And it depends which country they're in. I mean, I must say, thankfully, here in the UK, if you've had a company that has been registered, or even if you've been a sole trader, there's been different government support available. So, you're not sure about that? Oh, sort of.
About 3 million business owners have been excluded from the government support.
Wow, wow, which is a lot, which is really,
Yeah.
really something. So I was saying to say that yes, so there are some government support, but like you just highlighted, a lot, over 3 million have not been able to access that support. So of course that can really keep people awake at night. I think what helps me is firstly taking stock of the reality, not in my head, but on paper.
Okay.
In other words, where financially you are, you need to look at the figures and don't think about it in your head, because I think, especially before you sleep, if your mind is burdened down with I've got to pay this, I've got to pay that, where's my next income going to come from, which business deal do I need to pursue, if you keep that in your head and you don't translate it on paper, you're going to literally stay awake all night. So what helps me is literally doing a brain dump on paper, or I use my smartphone, do something, get those thoughts from your head on paper, because on paper or on your phone, at least in a written form, or you can even speak about it on your phone, and it can transcribe it for you. It helps to relieve your mind of the pressure of having to think about all these things. And then when you hopefully put it down, just tell yourself, look, I've got the issues. I know where my reality is on paper. The next day, when you're able to sleep and wake up, start dealing with the issues one by one. Okay. So if it's new customers that you need to find, how are you going to do that? Literally begin to work on the issues one by one on paper. And sometimes it may mean that you need to find, a coach, someone who can help you to actually consolidate those thoughts and those ideas. And that can be difficult if the business owner feels like, I'm already stretched for money, I don't have that money. But because of COVID, there are lots of coaches who are actually offering free 30-minute consultation, free 1-hour business consultation. So find someone, an organization, an individual who can help to, put these things into perspective. There are so many citizens advice bureau. There's organizations that can actually help you to see where you are and to devise strategies to get out of where you are. So for me, that's what helps, because I find that if I keep everything in my head, I have a restless night. But when I'm able to, deal with it objectively on paper, devise strategies of how I'm going to deal with it, it just helps me to have a good night's sleep. So that would be my advice to anybody who is struggling in that area.
Okay. Totally agree. I mean, downloading it makes a whole lot of difference. It doesn't necessarily make it go away, but it then almost frees up that room in your head.
Yeah.
It's just like if you have that spare room where you chuck everything in, and you're like, oh, but I would like to, rent. I would like to rent so I could get a little bit more money. But then you have all that space chucked up. As soon as you're able to free that space, that is basically another income stream you've got there. So it's basically creating space in your head, creating that extra asset, because I do not think we as business owners, we actually appreciate the fact that our creativity is an asset.
Yeah,
Our
definitely.
creativity is an asset, and it's almost our duty, the way we should be looking at our financial reports, to take care to make sure that we're also being creative. And that is basically the foundations of building wealth. It's all about creativity, and it's about meeting people at their point of need. So with that then, Blessing, lockdown is coming out, our businesses are opening again. what would be the 3 things that you would say that we should do to make sure, again, we are giving from a full cup? You know, how do you give from a full cup? Because that is where you need to be giving. Don't give, guys, no giving from an empty cup. That no. So how do we make sure that we're giving from a place of abundance, from a place of fullness, from a place of spiritual awareness? What are the 3 things we can do to make sure that we're always giving from that space rather than the other?
Sure. I think the first thing really goes back to what we mentioned earlier, which is recharging your battery. You know, whenever you're flying, they always give the announcement that should something happen, wear the face mask first before you even consider your baby. It sounds really harsh.
Yes.
But you've got to literally make sure you're taking care of yourself first, spiritually, mentally, physically,
Yes.
financially. So once you're able to find a way to recharge, and we mentioned earlier, everybody's way of recharging is different. So I think find a way to recharge yourself on a daily
Yeah.
basis. Do something. I like Terry Savelle Foy. I don't know if you know her. She's American, but she has a book called The 5 Things Successful People Do Every Day. It doesn't have to be 5 things. Find 2, 3 things you do every day. So, for example, for me, every day I wake up, I read my Bible. That helps me to recharge. I pray. That helps me as well to recharge. I exercise. I do those 3 things. I also read. So I think firstly, recharge your battery. Then I think secondly, use this lockdown time effectively. Now
Yeah.
that we're coming out, find strategies of how are you going to move your business forward. So for me, this lockdown has actually been a lifesaver. And I will say that because I've used this time, these 3-4 months, to put systems in place. So Anwin, if you remember, I mentioned to you earlier when we started, prior to lockdown, everything in my business, it used to be me having to physically do everything. But now we've put systems in place whereby when people want to sign up to my product services, I no longer need to be involved. Everything is done online on my website. So I think find a way to literally do something that's going to take your business to that next level, whatever that is. It depends whether you have a
Yeah.
product or it depends whether you have a
Yeah.
service. For me, I have services, and prior to lockdown, it was very much dependent on me. I was the entrepreneur, I was the manager, I was the PA, I was everything. But now I've put systems
Yeah.
in place. And I think the third thing I would advise is find an organization, find an individual, find like-minded people that you can really work with post lockdown, because what this period has demonstrated to us is the importance of relationships. Because if you didn't have very good relationships before lockdown,
Yeah.
literally after lockdown, you're going to need it, because now things are really
Yeah.
tough. And it's good to have people, have an individual, yourself. And when in terms of the expert advice you provide to business owners, find someone like who can really help to make sure that people have systems and things in place to take their businesses to the next level. I would say for me, those would be the 3 things to consider post lockdown.
Um, wow. Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, wow. You've heard it here, guys. So I have basically noted down 4 things from all what you've said. Recharge yourself. Find 2 things to do every day. 2, 3 things to do every day. Put systems in place and find like-minded people to network with. Those are basically the 4 things that I have gathered from all what you said so far in regards to preparing ourselves spiritually to go out there, to give from a place of abundance, to give from a place of fulfillment as well, which is absolutely amazing. And it totally fits in with the whole, building harmonic wealth, because then everything within you is in harmony.
Yeah.
Okay. And when everything is within you is in harmony, you're giving from a place of high frequency. Okay.
Yeah.
So that has been absolutely amazing, Blessing. I mean, I really, really want to thank you for jumping on here with us. Guys, as you're there, I know you found this beneficial. Make sure that you do subscribe and make sure that you do share this large and wide as well. Blessing, how do we get a hold of you? How do we follow
Sure.
up more
So
with you when we need more spiritual, let's say, realignment?
Sure. So my website is www.blessingcoaching.com. Blessingcoaching.com. On there, you'll find my my Instagram page, my number. Yeah. So I think just the simplest thing is literally just go to my website, and I have monthly blogs, so you can subscribe to that as well. So literally just find your way to my website, and all my contact details are there. www.blessingcoaching.com.
Amazing. So that's blessingcoaching.com, guys. I am going to put it down in the comments, but also in the video, you'll be able to see it more in the description. So that has been absolutely amazing, guys. And you know that I love to keep this short and sweet because, again, we have to go out and implement. So we consume less and actually be more producers. So we are producing. So go off and implement this and make sure that you're giving from a place of abundance and you're spiritually full. Your cup runneth over, as we say. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining. Thank you so much, Blessing, for jumping on and giving us these tips of how to get ourselves spiritually out there. And any last words for us?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Anwin. It's been so lovely. I feel like the time has gone by so quickly. I don't know where the time has gone, but I think it's really important. I love the topic that we've discussed about the importance of how wealth is not just, it's not just the money. People often just think of, the number of zeros after my name. It's not just about that. It's about your spiritual wealth, because like you said, if you're not doing well spiritually, mentally, the finances, the physical wealth you have will not even you can't even enjoy it. So I think it's just really important for us to have that holistic view of wealth. And for me, as a spiritual life coach, it really begins with your spirit. How are you? Do you know who you are? Do you know your purpose in life? Are you serving humanity? Finding the things that helps to make you. Because some people, I feel, in life, they just feel lost. They don't really know who they are. But wealth really begins with you just identifying your purpose, and just being at one with yourself, really, and just wanting to be a blessing to others. I think that gives more of the holistic wealth. So I just want to applaud you for the work you're doing. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, thank you, Blessing. And thanks everybody that have joined us live. I really appreciate you. And all those that are joining on the replay, namaste. Appreciate you as well. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks. Bye.